Good evening and welcome to Bull Market Talk Show. This is your host Rian Hobson, and we're doing actually today gold. On my last podcast last Friday, I was stating that gold price will reach an all-time high due to inflation. Tonight, I'm actually interviewing David Janneman from the company Think Gold, and he will explain actually his outlook on the gold price for the next few months or even for the next few years. But for that, I will just take a short break and then I'll be back, you guys, with some more information with David regarding the gold price.
Keep your finger on the market pulse with the News Alerts tool. Stay up to date on the latest sentiment across all the major asset classes. Uncover bullish or bearish signals tied to specific assets that could be developing before major price moves, and track how news sentiment correlated with price in the past. Track the news volume on an asset, its fear index, and get a better feel for its underlying strength. All with News Alerts, your central hub for market information. That's higher trading from MarketsX.
Good evening and welcome back to Bull Markets Talk Show. As I said, I will be interviewing David with basically all information regarding the gold price. And I see someone was actually leaving a comment already. Don't forget, please, if you guys drop a comment, there is a silver coin to be won, a quarter ounce silver coin. So if you guys drop a comment, share or interact at least, those ones who interact a lot with us, they will get actually the quarter ounce silver coin. But please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube page, and please, there is a link below. Please click on a link, register your account, and fund it with $250. So I will not keep you guys long. I will get David straight away, and I will bombard him with some questions on the gold cycle. How's it, Dave?
Hey, very good. And how are you?
I'm good, no complaints. How's Johannesburg?
Thanks for having me on your show. Very good, actually. We're expecting a little bit of action, but very good today, actually.
Oh, yes, the protesting. There was something about a protesting that's supposed to happen in Johannesburg.
That's right. We survived unscathed,
Dave,
thankfully.
okay. Not to keep the listeners long, can you please just give us a background on your enormous expertise regarding the gold and silver industry?
Okay, so I've been exposed to the gold and silver market actively since 2009. We started working with a mint in Johannesburg and exploring different channels to be able to obtain gold and different transactions that we were looking at, and distributing gold and silver Krugerrands ever since, and obviously staying quite abreast of the situations and the markets, and educating ourselves and educating our customers with relation to investing in gold and using it as an asset as part of investing in wealth cycles, what we call wealth cycles.
All right. And for how long, how many years you've been doing this in the gold and silver industry?
So it's now 12 years. 12 years this year.
Okay, it's 12 hard knock years with the gold and silver industry.
12 hard knock years, yes. Well, look, we've got a beneficiation license on the minting side. So that business has been going for, it's going to be 30 years next year. 29 years, so 30 years. So there's a lot of mentorship which happens with that. So dealing with industry experts and the people in the market and in the know, in the physical trading of gold, particularly in Johannesburg.
All right. Gold, Dave, not to actually to keep the listeners actually longer, because everybody wants to know, or based on my story that I had on Friday, where do you see gold in the next maybe 6 to 12 months?
Right.
David, are you with me?
You there?
Yep, I'm with you. Can you hear me?
I broke. Did you? Now I can. Loud and clear.
All right. Okay. I just want to know, where do you see actually the gold price and the silver price for the next 12 to 6 months?
All right. So that's a nice question because it's almost nearly impossible to predict the exact price, obviously, as we know. But when we look at the, the market, what we look at wealth cycles and indicators in assisting in making a person's decision. So we definitely see the price of gold and silver increasing. And here's why. A concept been forwarded by a gentleman called Mike Maloney. He is very well known with the Rich Dad Poor Dad series as one of the advisors to the Rich Dad Poor Dad. And basically, he's an expert in gold and silver investing, particularly. What he's done is he's dissected the 6,000 years of history that we've got with gold and silver, looked at the trends and identified some cycles where gold and silver and also the other asset classes are moving towards. So in that asset class, I mean, your assets are basically your stocks and bonds, your real estate, and your commodities for simple purposes. Your gold and silver forms part of those commodities. And whenever any one of the asset classes rises, people get excited about they're seeing their wealth growing, so they invest in a class. Let's say, for example, real estate. When that happens, the price of real estate increases, and typically what we expect is that money would from asset classes, your commodity and your stocks and bonds, and they would move towards real estate. People would sell their gold and then buy their real estate because they see there's a better chance of increasing their wealth. And over time, there's cycles which have emerged in terms of moving from asset classes, where people move their money between asset classes. And that's where really you make your money. If you just stay in one asset class all your life, you only have your real estate without buying and selling it, you end up at the end of the day at a sort of a zero balance. It's a zero-sum game. But when you change between asset classes, you get a value. So with regard to where we are at in the market right now, we are finding that real estate is decreasing. There's a movement towards people investing in gold and silver. So your prices is starting to reflect that. So we're expecting that price is going to continue to increase over at least the foreseeable 12 months or so. But under the circumstances, we can't really predict where it's going to be, but we know it's definitely halfway through the cycle, and definitely we're going to start seeing the fireworks happening in the next few months.
And are you actually talking solely on the South African context, like in rand value, that is where the gold price will increase?
No, not just in the rand value, in US dollar as well as rand. Your rand value, we have a weakening of the rand that's been going on for the last 20 years or so, since the 1970s. So it's over 30 years now, I guess. But the rand's definitely been weakening, so more value going in. So the price will go up in terms of rands, but that'll also go up in dollars as well.
All right. I will just take a short break, David, and then I will come back with you with some more news regarding the gold. But the other thing is I want also to know about a sleeping giant, which is actually silver. Just take a short break. We'll be back.
Keep your finger on the market pulse with the News Alerts tool. Stay up to date on the latest sentiment across all the major asset classes. Uncover bullish or bearish signals tied to specific assets that could be developing before major price moves, and track how news sentiment correlated with price in the past. Track the news volume on an asset, its fear index, and get a better feel for its underlying strength. All with News Alerts, your central hub for market information. That's higher trading from MarketsX.
Good evening and welcome back to Bull Market Talk Show. Finally, my lights are coming on. I think it's nothing to do with load shedding, but something went wrong here with my lights. But we are back with David with some more news regarding the silver and gold industry. David, just for interest sake, why do, if there's an uptrend, okay, we all know gold and silver goes together. But if there is an aggressive increase in these commodities, why do silver move faster than gold?
So the prices are very interesting here. So your gold price, you look at about 28,000 Rand an ounce in Rand terms, and you look at 750 Rand in terms of silver ounce at the moment. So it's easier for silver to really do a bull run and double or even triple, easier in terms of being able to double or triple than gold. So if you had R1 million in your silver, it's more likely to double or even triple than to have gold price doubling or tripling. So look at that. Oh, the graphs go very easily together when you say they go together. Silver in value has a better chance of getting a lot more upside.
All right, but if okay, right, it's all based on actually because silver is a bit cheaper. That's why obviously people will see more value in silver. But obviously for interest sake, and I'm sure traders are watching now, do you think silver and gold is actually now on that cycle where it's about to explode?
I believe so, and a lot of other people are with me on that. So you start looking at places, and I'll give you some resources where your listeners can also have a look at. There's definitely a lot of market sentiment saying that we're going to be getting a nice boom in the next few months. And it's mainly because of the volatility in the market. Over time, so over the last 100 years to 6,000 years, actually, whenever there's been volatility or distress in the market, people usually go back to gold and silver as the stable datum for exchanging. And that's why we're saying we're at a precipice right now where all those indicators are starting to add up to show that we've already had quite a bit of a nice run, but there's still got a little bit more, or a lot more, that we're expecting to have.
All right. As we pointed out earlier also, is there also a driving force with regarding to gold and silver? That to do with maybe with the supply constraints that we're experiencing now with freight, and also we had a drought in the United States. And do you think those factors are also the main drivers that literally can push up gold?
So I think there's a lot of drivers with gold and silver, in fact. Yes, there is obviously the supply and demand. There's a lot less gold and silver in the market, which is why gold price is a lot higher. And it is a limited quantity. So the price obviously goes up, but also the other factors that you mentioned, I mean, there's droughts which are happening. There's turmoil in a lot of countries, in, for example, Afghanistan, in China, and Hong Kong was taken over by China again. There's uncertainty in the USA. There's people can't get some silver in the USA at the moment. So we've also got the pandemic, which is a huge differentiator. It's something that we haven't been through in our lifetimes. We have global lockdowns, so we're all adjusting to this. So typically, when people are in this type of precarious situation, they don't know where to turn. You don't know which way to go. Do you go into property? Do you go into buying investment stamps or coins or old vehicles or gold or silver? People look for something which will hold their wealth, especially when they have uncertainty. Inflation usually goes up through the roof as well. So we promote gold and silver because they've been around and they've trusted vehicles.
All right.
Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. For now that you talk about inflation and all these things, like for example in South Africa, do you think South Africans are actually protected if there is an inflation spike? Do you think South Africans have the protection, or do you maybe see people buy a lot of gold or silver due to some fear that inflation might go out of control?
So I think in terms of inflation, we're getting a lot of inflation already. And I don't know about if we get into hyperinflation. I don't know if any market is completely protected against hyperinflation. Once you get that group mob mentality, you're going to start driving that hyperinflation. And I guess we've got strong fiscal and monetary policy which prevents some of that. But if once it goes over the edge, nobody's really protected against it, in my opinion. But with that said, we are printing a lot of paper at the moment. We're printing a lot of money, and you can see it in terms of we all going to the stores and we're seeing that there's a huge price increase over a very short period of time. I mean, I've looked at some of the goods that we've been purchasing, and it's been 50% last 4 months, and that's quite big, and it's driven by fuel price increases, electricity price increases, water price increases, which are the basis of being able to get production done. But at the same time, those prices are increasing. There's a lot more money in supply as well, which is what causes your inflation. In terms of the second part of your question, you asked if there's people who are buying a lot of gold and silver. We are definitely having people investing a lot in. We're finding, because we're sharing with our clients, they call it the pin giant. In that silver, it's cheaper, it's more cost effective, so people can invest in it. And anybody can basically buy 750 Rand ounce of silver, as opposed to 28,000 Rand ounce of gold, which is a little bit more restrictive. But we've had a few customers who have bought over a ton each in silver, just anticipating what's, and they've been people who you might call conspiracy theorists, but they've been watching the market, looking at the dollar, looking at the precarious situation globally, looking at the situation over the last few years with Brexit and the European Union. So they've been watching all of this and saying, we predict that any time now we're going to have a situation where we're going to have to return to gold and silver as the standard basis of operation.
Just for interest's sake, a ton of silver, how did you guys drop it off? The person can fetch it or something.
I wish I had a few bars of silver with me right now. I don't have them with me, but it's 1,000 kilos. It's not. It's surprisingly little. If you look at it, it doesn't take very much space.
Oh, I can just imagine.
It weighs a ton, but we'll probably fit on a couple of chairs actually. So we just dropped them off at the vault. We have our vault facility, so we dropped it off at the person's vault and under their name, and that's the standard procedure.
Right. We have an interesting question here. Do you see Bitcoin or gold as stronger hedge against inflation?
That's a very good question. So here's my personal take, is that Bitcoin and crypto in general, but Bitcoin and Ethereum have been really the stars of the show over the last, since 2008. And Bitcoin's a new kid on the block when it comes to hedging against inflation. Gold and silver have been around for over 6,000 years that we can documented history. Your Bitcoin is around for the last 12, 13 years. And a lot over the last year or two, it's been really performing well. But it's unproven in terms of what would it do in terms of a crisis. So if we had to have mass outages and power failures, you lose access to your internet. Does that affect your Bitcoin? Does that affect how you trade with it? What does it do when large-scale blocks start shutting down? We don't know all of that. So in terms of Bitcoin as an investment, I don't know. I guess it's up to the individual investor to do their homework and understand why you're investing in something and what your fundamental basics of that investment are, what you see in the market. We have a company which deals in Bitcoin arbitrage. So we take advantage of the price in Bitcoin in South Africa and internationally. So we are involved with Bitcoin, but we also don't invest too heavily in terms of using it as a hedge against inflation. That's our personal opinion, though.
Right. It's more to do with that there's not enough evidence to tell people, hey, go full in with gold and silver.
Yeah, I guess. So I guess there's not enough evidence for Bitcoin, I would say. Bitcoin has shown a good track record over the last decade compared to when it started, and particularly over the last year or so, where it's reached $40,000 a Bitcoin. It's been really good. But in terms of a hedge against inflation, I can't call that one. I mean, a lot of the guys in Silicon Valley are saying that it's going to go up to $1 million a coin, and that's what they're aiming for. But is it really going to do that? I don't know. So it's one of those things. It's still a new kid on the block. So we have some investment in Bitcoin at the moment. So we do some gold, some silver, and some Bitcoin, and then we've also got some other arbitrage market we look.
All right. I will just take a short break, Dave, and then I will ask you a very magic question. I'm sure it will be a heavy one maybe to answer, but it will be very interesting for the traders. Just take a short break. We'll be back with it.
Keep your finger on the market pulse with the News Alerts tool. Stay up to date on the latest sentiment across all the major asset classes. Uncover bullish or bearish signals tied to specific assets that could be developing before major price moves, and track how news sentiment correlated with price in the past. Track the news volume on an asset, its fear index, and get a better feel for its underlying strength. All with News Alerts, your central hub for market information. That's higher trading from MarketsX.
Welcome back to Bull Market Stock Show. This is your host, Rian Opson, and we're still with a lot of questions with David, but please don't forget to subscribe on the link below for your markets.com account. And please don't forget also to leave your comments so that you can actually win the quarter ounce silver. In the driving seat here, we have the chart whisperer who is in the driving seat to win actually the quarter ounce silver. And he had another question. The question goes as follows. True, but last year, if not mistaken, gold moved to the downside and Bitcoin was up a very, very good percentage. I think that's what he meant. So,
yes, it was.
I don't know.
It's absolutely true. And I go back to having said, I mean, the question was answered based on a hedge against inflation over the long term. And if you're going to make decisions based on, it depends on your investment strategy. And I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not giving any financial advice. So it depends on each person's investment strategy and how they want to look at it and how they want to expand their wealth and their portfolio. Bitcoin did do a nice surge. It was between late November, where it went up from just under 20,000 US a coin, all the way until about June, July, where it went over close to 50,000, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, if you caught that wave and you got it right, that is fantastic. It is a good wave to, and a good bull run to get. In terms of track record, I couldn't predict that one. It's what guys are saying. So for us, in terms of inflation and hedging against that, gold and silver are kind of the old stalwarts, and they're getting challenged right now with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. So it's an interesting market. It's an interesting new dimension on how things are changing up and experiencing. So I'm keeping a tab on it. And like I said, we're keeping some sort of part of our portfolio in it. And in terms of the overall structure, in terms of going for the next 2 to 3 years, or even less than that, based on what gold is going to be, anticipate gold and silver to do, we're still keeping quite a bit of our portfolio in gold and silver.
Awesome. Dave, the last question, and this is surely what the traders wants to hear. Just give us that rough estimation or range. Where do you think gold will be by next year, March? And then where will silver be also by next year, March? Just a rough estimate. I'm sure you had your homework done.
Rough estimation, next year, March.
Yep.
So it's currently, so I'm going to stick it with round figures, about 28,000 Rand per ounce right now. So next year, March, I'm going to go with at least 40,000 per ounce. At least.
All right. That's March 2022. And silver.
So silver, you're looking at 750 Rand for an ounce. That's VAT inclusive. So I'm just looking at this type of baby here. So that's an ounce of a Kruger ounce. So 750 Rand, more or less, in today's market. And I'm going to say it's about 1,000 Rand to 1,150.
Oof. So you're definitely up with the bulls for gold and silver. So which means I'm not far off with my prediction.
Good.
But gold,
but the market. It's the market, we have it's the market. We all have our positions, and we have a look, and based on the research we have, we take a position, and time tells how we end up.
Absolutely, Dave. But Dave, thanks a lot for coming up. We will definitely get you back on soon. We will see how the prediction is going. Definitely in the next weeks we will see will it goes to the 1,000 for silver and 48,000 for gold. But thanks a lot for coming forward today. I really appreciate it, and thanks a lot for your time that you spent with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, and thanks for all the questions as well asked by the listeners. Speaking again soon.
All right. Cheers, Dave. That is David from Think Gold. He was sharing his expertise with us regarding the gold market. And as Dave said, listen, it looks like we will have a bull run from now until March, as I was asking for some price ranges for us. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's show, and thanks a lot for all the questions that were sent. And if you guys share it, then we will definitely check, will you guys be the winner for the quarter ounce silver. So that is it from my side for tonight. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and then I will see you guys tomorrow at 1 o'clock with some more news regarding the FX and commodity market. See you guys. Bye-bye.